Alright everybody, we're going to talk about this language that's here in front of us today, but before we do, I want to talk a little bit about Ardiff. Ardiff is an entity who came through the first book, Benevolent Reptilian Human Hybrids with Jefferson Biscardi, with the most profound information about densities and dimensions and a very short 20-some page representation of his overall knowledge. Now this book was done at the point where my channeling became more clear. That book actually helped train me to make my channeling more clear. So this is a very pivotal point. Ardiff is an ancient Pleiadian. What this means is that his original people are from the Pleiades region, that these entities are now not in Pleiades. They are in the star system called Deneb. Deneb's a huge supermassive star. They live in that system. Now, as consciousness expands and grows, Pleiades is a very tightly compact area of thousands and thousands of different races. They needed more room. Their evolution, their consciousness got so huge they couldn't co-create in a space that tight, so they moved their whole race to Deneb. Right now, I'm channeling Ardiff on a consistent basis. We're doing a lot of information work together. This is what he looks like, a very fair representation. I've only seen visualizations of him. I've never seen him the same way that I do Treb in the astral projected state. But this is an entire beautiful connection that I'm sharing with him. And this information that he shares is so deep and profound. He's taught me about densities, dimensions, taught me about a whole lot of things. Right now I'm working on a book with him about our galactic history, but it's not just about galactic history. It's a whole myriad of different ideas and concepts pressed into one thing. This is going to be a new pathway in my own channeling, as Ardiff now is connecting to me directly instead of through Treb, which means the information being shared will be more extensive. Now let's talk about this language itself. What we're doing today is going to take a closer look at Ardiff, the ancient Pleiadians' written language. Vashta Narada, which was someone who had done a session with Treb and Ardiff before, was made aware of Ardiff's and her connection. She had brought up something, as well as myself and Kalina talking about Ardiff, what his language looks like. It was expressed back in the very first book with Jefferson Biscardi that Ardiff's race still had a written language, and in fact the message that he shared with us was from his own written language, translated as best as could into English. Now you'll look at the symbology here. It's very clear that each word is represented by each symbol. So we're going to break these down a little bit. Now, he explained to me what this meant and why it meant the way it did. Okay, now first of all we're going to look right here. This part right here is a complete circle, a line through it with a dot on the right side of the line, and this mark right here. Okay, and this word represents you. Now why does it represent you? Now he explains that this whole circle right here is oneness. When you have a perfect circle, it represents oneness. Now there's a division in oneness, because all that is all that is. But when you refer to a singular or a divisionary consciousness, the line that divides it in the middle. You are love. Now this dot to the right is a representation of all of the right-sided energy, the energy that mankind kind of holds on to very strongly, the masculine energy, the divided type energy. So this is a dot representing. This line divides the whole. Now this is like a negative, like a takeaway sign, what we would think of as a takeaway sign, and that's a representation of a singular consciousness. So it's consciousness divided in the masculine way with one, an individual consciousness. That's what this represents here. Now we go to the next one, R. Now this arc, it wasn't drawn perfectly, but it was as best as could. This is an arc, represents simply existence. You are, you exist. You are a part of existence. That's this symbol. Now, loved is a much different symbol. This is kind of different. Now, this isn't exactly how loved would be written in their language. It can be any trapezium. And what a trapezium is a four-sided object, much like a rectangle or square, with lines that are not equal. So if it was a rectangle, this dot would be here. You guys know what a rectangle looks like. Even if this side was flat and the other one had a protrusion, or it looked like a box with one dot just slightly out, that is a trapezium. The trapezium in their language represents love. Why does it represent love? Well, right now I'm working with Ardiff on a bunch of things, and what he's explaining is that the world of the atomic structure is much smaller than we ever believed, and in the most basic elements of building blocks of atomic structures, this is where transmission from non-physical to physical exists. Now, the actual energy of creator consciousness, of love itself, of the ability of oversoul is represented to their race as a trapezium, because in their race, their very first conscious awareness of these subatomic molecules was represented as a trapezium. And this trapezium, trapezoid, I'm sorry, trapezium is much different. That's an area in space. Trapezoid is representing that energy for them. That's why trapezoid is there. Now, if the trapezoid means love, what is this oblong thing not? Well, the oblong thing represents time. It represents time in a linear fashion. It continues to go. The way we experience linear time is very, very different than the way they experience in their realm, but in all reality, time is circular and it also is linear at the same time, and this represents that. This dot on the top represents something completely different. This represents a starting point in the now. It represents a starting point of time in the now as well as a past sense. That is loved. Without the circle and the dot, it would just be love. With the circle, it's a love in some point of time. The top representation is loved in the now and in the past simultaneously. Now, this language seems to be very complex. Each word or each idea has a certain singular symbol of representation, and it's very logical when you think of it. It's very, very perfect, in fact. And these sixth density beings, I don't know why they still carry this. Most races don't at this point of their evolution, but for some reason they do. This is what he wanted to share with us. You are loved. He's seen the profound impact that it has on humans just by expressing that you are loved. He says, when I love you, it means two separate, fractalized, broken apart, and segregated entities are sharing an energetic moment between the two. But when you are loved, it represents that all that you are is a portion of love, that all that you are is connected into the consciousness. So I really wanted to share this with you guys today, and thank you guys for being a part of this. Any more language that I get will definitely be sent directly to you guys. This is Rob Gauthier, channeler of Treb Bor Yit NE, as well as Ardiff, the ancient Pleiadian. This information will continue to flow as Ardiff is becoming more a part of my integrated channeling. So thank you guys. So now that I've shared that with you, I want to share some recent work that myself and Ardiff have done channeling through the show Enlightenment Evolution Hour on the Enlightenment Evolution Network.
Good evening to all of you. This is Ardiff. My name is Ardiff. This is Aridiff, and this is it spelled. We wish to first incorporate our own greetings specifically to Kalina this evening, and specifically to all of you who have joined us live in this specific evening. I know that you wish to talk about certain concepts and ideas of what is going on within your life, but let us express one ideal before we start this adventure. Before this adventure becomes started, before it begins to roll downwards in the hill, we wish to explain one very important aspect of this evening's communication. In this specific time period that you would deem the end of 2014, there are many energies that are beginning to change. The very first energy that has come to you is the concept that you would call equinox and solstices. And in this specific evening, before the time period that you would see as 6 a.m. in this Eastern time, you were able to perceive one blood moon. Now, this blood moon is a specific astronomical event that happens outside of your planet with the reflection of the sun to the moon, with the moon's angle to the earth, with the moon's closeness to the earth. This is one representation of this blood moon being reflected to you. But let us introduce another idea. The other idea is not only are you seeing different reflections of light, different angles, different momentums from these astronomical bodies co-creating existence, but what the moon is another energy in the co-creation of your solar system collective consciousness, as is your star that you would call the sun, or three of you entities, Earth Collective, Moon Collective, Solar Collective, are all playing a very tightly knit dance. All three of you are co-creating energy after this specific equinox in the time that you see as November and October. This is the beginning of a new change of energy. The change of energy that we wish to share with you is one of releasing old systems. Your old systems have been tested throughout the entirety of this year, specifically to make room for your venture in this time. This specific time will allow you to shed all of the limiting beliefs that you have struggled with, that you have faced, that you have brought to the surface through your own variance ascensional process of consciousness. And now that you will do this, you will now begin to see all of the momentum that you had hoped for in the beginning of this year. You've seen struggle and nothing but struggle from the beginning of this year in your own consciousness or in entities around you that you hold dear to you, that you love. We have talked about, with Treb Bor Yit NE previously, 3 waves. In these 3 waves, there is sickness and illness. There is holding to the very tightly to specific things, ideals, belief systems. There are finding your resonance with removing this, struggling with the energies that are left behind, which mostly manifest into sickness. And there is the wave 3, where you are in a good place mentally and emotionally and are helping those who are doing this. All of you who are hearing my voice in this evening have been through all 3 of these in this year. You have been assisting others, going through something, or dealing with the energies of removing beliefs. Now, it is time for a perpetual downslope, a downslope of anxiety, a downslope of hardships, a downslope of negative or restricting energy into your very own power, your very own expansion. In this expansion, you will find many synchronicities that will allow you more financial, more relationship energy. You will find yourself in more situations that will allow these financial ventures, the relationship ventures, and the ability to do something that excites you. This is the one thing that has eluded many of you. This is the one thing that has been your proverbial dragon, what you have chased and never caught, and now you will be able to embark upon this. What we can suggest, what can be the highest resonance of this energy in this moment, what can be your most constructive move in this energy if you truly wish to expand and evolve, is to dive deeply into your own excitements. Dive deeply into your own shadow work, as some of you call this. Diving deeply in looking with truth and honesty into all of the attributes of your own self that you find to be limiting and non-resonant. And by doing this, you will guarantee yourself the releasal of many of these things that have restricted you for the entirety of your existence. This is what we are here to speak of in this evening and what we desire to share. Myself, Treb Bor Yit NE, the host, as Treb would call Rob, and Kalina herself. This is what we wish to co-create with all of you in this evening. If there are any questions, you may begin them when you are ready.
I would like to know why I chose to reincarnate in this lifetime. Is it possible to ask that?
Yes, this is very possible, and we will give you the greatest explanation that we can. We cannot give you a map laid out for all things that you desire to do, all things that you wish to do before coming here, but we will explain one thing. There is not an accident surrounding the concept that you have found these entities through channeled states that you have. They are holding keys to messages of reasons why you have come here. You have co-created so frequently with other people who are excited of the same things that you are. You are wishing to have communities of large amounts of people who come to listen, who come to co-create, who come to live in a heart-centered energy that you find resonance. With those things, you are able to find more things that will lead you to the path of why you are here. Let us give one extra layer to this. When you look upon the layer that is sitting on top of the layer that is the answer that we have given you, then what you have is why all of you have come to experience the Earth Collective. The reason that you have come to Earth is because it is a very unique area, a very unique school, a grounds of growth that upon which other no incarnation can give you. Yes, there are systems in which limitation is much higher than the Earth Collective. Yes, there are experiences that are much more difficult to anticipate, much more difficult to interpret, and much more difficult to truly walk through than the Earth Collective. But in the Earth Collective, it gives you a unique perspective to find all spectrums of difficulty, from the lightest difficulty to the hardest, and everything that is in between, with your capability to turn on and off your heart within the same breath. And if you can see the exact quality of your understanding of what is being shared, then you will be able to incorporate ways to share it with others in which they have not been able to hear. You will be able to give them the simplicity that they need for the more complex information. If you share that, this excitement will lead you to other excitements, and you will find your reason why you specifically, as a fractalized consciousness, have decided to enter the Earth Collective Consciousness. You are loved.
Thank you. My question was to you. I had a private session with Treb about a month ago, a little bit over a month ago, and I had asked him about the first race that ever came to this earth, and I asked him about the name of them, and he said that in about a month, which is about this time, to ask you. So now I finally have the opportunity.
Are you speaking of the first race who inhabits this earth, or are you speaking of the first race that connected humans upon this earth?
The first race to inhabit this earth.
The first race to inhabit this earth has no physical name. The energetic name that was left was Khen. And in this Khen race, these entities are very seldomly spoke of. The Earth Collective Consciousness, through all of its archives, energetically and subsequently non-energetically, are trying to connect to this idea very strongly. What we can tell you, what we are aware of throughout archives as well as our own intuitive understanding of your Earth's history, is that these entities were alive 2.4 billion years ago. These entities lived upon your planet. This is much before much of life upon your Earth was thought to be even available to exist. In this specific time, they were living in a non-oxygen-rich environment. Once the plants begin to grow upon this planet, once they begin to turn carbon monoxide, which was the dominant gas, into oxygen, it made their environment non-livable. This was one of the very first third-density entities in the history of the galaxy to ever be able to move their entire race off of the planet. The reason that there are not stringent details of the specific race is because they are energetically not in a physical system. This is not a problem for most races, as archives are able to track these specific movings and track the specific history, as well as our own consciousness being able to jump backwards and forwards in time. But these entities specifically were not connected to this collective consciousness. They were not connected to this matrix in this galaxy. They were connected and brought here through another matrix, which makes them untraceable through archives. The physical archives we are speaking of, not the energetic. The energetics that were left here were not much of a detail as well. The earth changes that you have has only allowed your race to find one point of history for them. Several years ago, there was a metal ball that was found on the southern area of Africa. This was carbon dated approximately 2.3 billion years ago, but it was off by 100 million years. So in this 100 million years difference, this does not allow much play for your scientists, but we understand the carbon dating process is not as precise as you might allow yourself to think. Now, when you are looking at this race, they are leaving their planet. They moved to the next inhabitable planet, which was Mars. They did not live there very long. The environment there was also too oxygen-rich, and their technology was not good enough for them to leave that planet. In that planet, they did not survive very long, and in fact, that is where they remained in the last days of their physical incarnations.
Wow. Thank you very much, Ardiff. Real quick, I have one quick question. I have random, I call them energy spasms. I was wondering if you can help me out with that, like if you know anything I can do to calm those down. They randomly happen to me, and this feels like energy just comes into my body and jerks me out of nowhere.
Yes. What we can suggest is do not fight these energies. They are releasing for a reason. When you begin to fight them, then you begin to fight the energy that you are. If you let them go, if you let a relaxation come upon you when they come, the less frequently you will see them, the less frequently you will experience them. Because you have perceived them to be negative and distracting and a pain into your neck, that is why they repeat in such a drastic way. Let the energy be released, accept yourself, love yourself because you are loved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ardiff.